So everybody knows Bill Broker. Jean was not able to do the presentation virtually this month, so Bill was gracious enough to step in and come up with the program for us, which is very interesting. He's going to explain it to you. It's in regards to the Hot Air app, which should be of a lot of interest to pilots and crew people. He'll explain all about it. So, Bill, you're on.
Well, thank you very much. I think I'm on. Am I on? I'm on. I know this is going to be more designed toward the pilots, and I do apologize, but with recent information that's coming out, I think a portion of this is going to be really important for an extremely handy tool. And as we get going on this, you'll see why. I'm not the designer or creator of the app. Josh Cato and out of Commerce, and Sean is a code writer down in Houston. They worked really hard on updating the Hot Air app once we lost any updates from the Motion X that app that everybody was using. To give you kind of an idea, I don't have a pointer or anything to work. This is one of the first screens that you'll come up to use on the Hot Air app. And the Hot Air app has got so many things on it to not go through it all, but it's got a main log of every flight that you do on it. It's got a summary that you can go through, and every balloon that you use keeps track of the flights and the hours and everything that you've got on that. There's a master map that you can turn on and off to show a bunch of different flights. I don't know how long it's going to take to populate it if I do that, but and then this is the main screen for when you're going live on a flight. But so I'm just going to show a few things on that real quick before I go into the real main reason for showing you the app. The app costs, like, I think it's only $4 or $5 one-time charge, and it does all this stuff for us now. If you look on this screen about 4 down, there's the weather app, and you can set up, each pilot, each person that has this can set up its own weather. These are interchangeable. They can change to whichever one you whatever weather you want to use for your flying. So it's not this. These are just defaults that are in it that I use anyway. So okay, perfect. Okay, and so you've got the options for the weather. And you can come over here, and if you do real time, it's going to pop over to a glimpse deal, and everybody knows about glimpse, so I'm not going to go through all that, or most everybody should have either heard about it or anything. But it takes a second for it to populate, and it's going to come down to where I'm actually sitting. So it is, if you look in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, it'll give you it. I'm not moving, so give it a second to zero out and everything. But if I were moving, it would give a line in the direction that I'm moving. You could set it to have intervals to show where you're going to be in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. You can change it to 20 minutes intervals all through the settings. And I say that because what you can also do with this is that, okay, if I'm sitting where that blue dot is, and I can put a target out there as to this is the field that I want to see, and you can actually see the movement arrow that's for some reason it's popping up and populating, but that'll give you the direction and everything to a certain field, and your actual real-time line will go left and right of that as you're flying. So as you're flying, you can change your altitude, whatever, and that kind of gives you a bearing to hold to, and it gives you the distance and everything right there in the middle of the screen, right above the target deal. And you can also put your finger on it to hold it and move it. If you say, oh, I'm not going to make that field, I think I can make this field, and change it instantly, and it'll calculate and give everything on there. If you don't like it being on there, you just hit the clear button and it's gone. One of the features that this also has is something that it was a big deal back when we had the hot air app. Everybody loved this measuring tool. So with this measuring tool, I'm surprised that it hasn't repopulated. But with this measuring tool, if you look in the upper left-hand corner again, it gives you distance. It'll give you a distance to the between each marker, and it'll also give you the direction. In this particular way, is your heading or your bearing. And then if you don't like it that direction, you just hit the little flip button, and once it gives it a minute, it just changed it all. But anyway, you get the idea behind it. Now it's set up to, come on, work with me. It's set up to direction for the wind direction whenever you call flight service or whatever, and they give you the degrees of wind. Now it's set up for that. You say, okay, 190, 180, 172. You can do all that with this measuring tool to kind of plan out any of your flights. And then once you go back into here, you can this will be a list of all your flights that you've ever done on it, and you can pop them up, and this is what the finished item looks like on the map. The top one gives you a bar as to your time of your flight, your elevation, and then you've got the map, and there's several different ways that you can if you want to send this out, you can send it out in several different formats and send it over to Google Earth, and it'll give you an actual terrain, uh, a plane view of your flight and everything. And there's just so many options to do with this, so that you can look back on your flights. And then also for me, it helps that if somebody calls in and says, "Hey, you flew over my property. You want to bet? This is my flight that day. Where do you live?" Well, they're 5 miles away. It wasn't me. They were just looking for, something to argue with, or if it's a different balloon or whatever. I can show that it wasn't me, and it wasn't me that caused any problems or whatever. And then I also use it for the commercial flights that I do, that if they want to see what kind of areas that I flew over, I can send this map and show them this is the area that we flew over. And that comes in handy with some of the commercial flights that I do. Double check the chat, see if anybody's got any questions so far. Okay.
A question has come up. Is this an app that's available for Android?
It is not available for Android. No. I do know that. Sorry.
No worries. That was just a question that came through.
Okay. And like I said, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of the features, just because it's, like I said, you can get on there and look at it. If you've got hot air, then you kind of know where I'm going with all of this. One other feature that's really cool is that you can download the KML maps, and for each area, a lot of times balloon events will put out their map of the area. And I've got Kyle already loaded on this. You can see this by the check mark. And so what I'm going to do is I'll go back in here. I'm going to give it a second to populate, and then I'll zoom in on Kyle, and you kind of see what information is available. And from what I understand, somebody there in Austin has put together a map of the area, because it'll have your red areas, your green areas, your yellow areas. This particular one for Kyle, that you can see, we've got Austin, the airport. It's got their control areas, and we've got down at San Marcos, and then specifically here we got the red area there that's around the water treatment plant, and the green area, that's obviously the Kyle Park. And there's some waypoints that have been put in also, and you can tap on those waypoints and it'll tell you what each one of those are. And the one down here is, but the Albuquerque map, as you can well imagine, is I'll load that one real quick just so you can have your head spin if you haven't seen it before. It'll always default to loading where you're sitting. There's the Albuquerque map of the green rings. There are actually right around Fiesta Park, so you know how many the distance between them all. Then you can see seeing all the pink and yellow and red areas, but you can also tap on them and see exactly what the addresses are, and they've just got it all outlined. And if there's any information for the red areas or that you need to know to, for specific altitudes that you need to be over the top of, or if there are just no landing zones or what. But that kind of gives you an idea as the possibilities that can be created with the maps. Now, onto this. There's going to be some information. Probably a lot of you have heard if you've paid attention to social media the last couple of days on a particular subject. And this, I'd heard about this a few weeks ago, and went into the Hot Air app just to look at this particular feature, and it's a very good feature. And what's happening is, and especially if pilots are going out to Albuquerque, you can probably bet that at some point you're going to get ramp checked, and one of the questions that you're going to get checked on is your payload. And because that's a big thing right now, especially with a lot of the people in Albuquerque. And so imagine with the FAA, it's going to start spreading out to other balloon festivals. So before we start hitting our balloon festival season, which is starting soon, and we got quite a few of them still happening, so which is great. But this little tool may save you from being grounded. And so I just want to run through it real quick with you. If you've never used it or seen it before, it is, in my opinion, it's going to be a very handy flight saving tool, and it's the payload calculator. So we'll look at it real quick, and it's once you get to messing with it, it's very easy to use and maneuver through. So I'm just going to start at the top, and I'm going to move down, and maybe oversimplifying, but I think it's going to be the best way to understand it and go through it. So what I need to pull up one thing here for some information. And there we go. Okay. So you got your balloon size. Obviously, that's the volume of your balloon. It doesn't go into the AX. You can change things to meters, to cubic feet over here on the right side. And so for the sake of argument, we're going to use a 90,000 cubic foot balloon today. We're not flying in the evenings around here, so it's really not a great example for me to sit here and use afternoon temperatures. So we're going to go down to the next one, and we're going to say that our takeoff temperature, ambient temperature, is 80 degrees. I put in the next one to where it is the maximum envelope temperature. I know hitting there at 250 degrees is the exact one, but follow with me just a minute on this, and you'll see what'll happen here. So I put in there in mind for the maximum envelope temperature. The next one down, and you can change, you can look over on the right side there, you can change from Fahrenheit to Celsius, whichever works best for you. But also when it comes to the pressure, I'm old school. I like the 29, but you can change it also to the millibars that a lot of readings will come in at. But with the millibars today, right here in Dallas, is 2993 is my pressure. The pressure will, whenever you open the screen, the pressure will always default, and you always have to put it in. It will never be right. It will never be what you had in there before. So that's one thing to watch out for, is that when you use this, you'll have to change that. Now, before I hit enter on this, you'll see the graph down here at the bottom is getting ready to change as soon as I hit that. So now the next one down is the safety factor. You can put in a safety factor of 1, but if you put, I use 95, that gives me a 5% reduction in whatever I put in here from now on. It's going to figure it a little bit lower, so it's going to figure it just a little bit more conservatively. Okay. Now, one of the things that's getting some people into trouble when it comes time to present this, if you get ramp checked by the FAA on your takeoff and your landing, is a lot of this information that I'm getting ready to put in here for the equipment and people is all great and wonderful. Prove it is the next question that you get. And that's where people are coming up short, is because they don't know how to prove those numbers rapidly. And the easiest thing to do is I've got my Cameron flight manual right here. It's in the flight manual. All of this that we're even figuring on this is in the flight manual, but the way that this app is set up in the calculator, it's just much easier, it's quicker, and it gives you a great idea. So I've got mine dog-eared with a post-it note, so I know where it is. Depending on the manufacturer, could be in the middle of the book like it is for Cameron, could be at the front of the book like it is for Lindstrand, could be at the front of the book like it is for Aerostar, back of the book for other manufacturers. It's all over. So that's why I say put a post-it in there so it's easily found when you get the question is to prove it. Because what's going to happen, I know I could have screens and everything for this, but it was put together real quick. But all of your information should be right here of your weights and your serial numbers for the equipment that you're carrying and the balloon. So as long as the weights are in here and they match what we're getting ready to put here on the screen, you're in good shape. But also in there, right next to the weights, is the graph that people have all learned on, figuring the altitude and density altitude and what loads you can carry for the day. And this program will figure that conservatively. So all of that information, if it's not in your flight manual and you need to find it, all you need to do is go to the website, because most of the manufacturers like Cameron, everybody's got that information on their website as to what the equipment weighs. And if you've got a problem finding it and need it, give me a call and I can help you get it. But it's all there that if for some reason those weights and everything aren't filled out in your flight manual. So like I said, it's easily obtainable. So what we're going to do is go through here real quick. I've already got the information kind of put in there, but I'm going to go through it so you can see the envelope weight obviously is the weight of the envelope, 245 pounds on a 90. The basket, depending on the size of your basket, this is wicker only at 140 pounds. I'm going to skip other for a minute and we're going to jump over to the burner weight. If you got a single burner, double burner, that those all change the weights. Your fuel is, on this particular one, I have two 15-gallon tanks and they're 110 pounds a piece. So that's why we've got 220 pounds. And now when it comes to the people, a lot of people don't want it to ask and people's weight, but you get to use a number of 210 to 215 pounds average. That's what the airline people use as an average when they just start counting people, instead of they're allowed to average the weight. So it is an allowable process to use 210 to 215 pounds per person. So at 210 pounds, I've got myself, two people in the basket. And then over here on other, I use that for any just radios, bags, pouches, all of that extra stuff, about 25 pounds extra. So now with all of that put in there, we look down there on the graph, and at the ground level, it shows that I have 193 pounds of weight left over. If I press on the 1,000, if you look down there at the bottom, it gives it in big bold letters, 181.5 at 1,000 feet. At 3,000, 156. At 7,000, if I wanted to go to 7,000 feet, I'm still okay. What will change that rapidly is if we go up here and we change it to a 90-degree temperature. 10 degrees and change, watch what happens. At 3,000 feet, I've only got 52 pounds now. Let's put in a 10-gallon tank. at another 65 pounds. So we're at 285 pounds takeoff weight with 3 passengers. Look what just happened to that graph. On the surface, I've got 13 pounds. And this is all telling you, at 2,000 feet, I am minus 3.3 pounds. That's with using my maximum envelope temperature. Now, in real life, I'm probably only going to be at about 200 degrees on the envelope, but this kind of gives you an idea as to how quickly to figure your weights and your temperatures with the pressure and everything that's going on with the weather. This is a really good conservative estimate to whether you can fly or not. I was telling Robert this earlier, so I'm going to open and fess it up to even for myself that a couple of weeks ago I did a flight review and made this one of the tasks for flying. And much to my surprise, I messed up by about 100 pounds. I was over 100 pounds for the flight because I fly 90s, I fly 70s. I know what each balloon can carry, and that's what it is. And I had messed up because as soon as I put it into this calculator, I found out that, you know what, for that particular flight, I was wrong. So we can get complacent. Even it happened even with myself, that we can get complacent in what we think we can do and what the equipment can do in certain conditions. And what you can do with this now is that now that we've got this filled out, we got 2 things we can do. We can come up here to the very left-hand corner and hit save. And what it'll do is, for anybody that's got multiple balloons, is where this comes in handy. And so we'll just, save this as, I named it 2 rings and hit save. Now, if you come over here to the far right, there's a list of the balloons. Now, if I press on 2 rings to come back up, it's not the data that I just put in there, mainly in the pressure. So that's why the other data for the size of the balloon, the weights and everything are there. So you need to change your temperatures and your pressure to be more in line with what the flight's going to be. But what you can do is, if you do this, you can take a screenshot of it, at least save it on your phone, to the point where if you do get ramp checked by the FAA and they come up, you can pop this up and say, I did my calculations for this flight, here it is. And then when they ask you, where'd you get that information, you pop open your flight manual, and all done and good. Because what they're finding out is people don't know where to find this information and how to prove it, that this is correct information for that flight. Like I said, I was trying to make this as short and sweet as possible. So if I don't know, and like I said, I'm not the designer of the app. I just use the app a lot. And if you got any questions, straight to the app, I can help you with that. But for the most part, this is what I've got for you for tonight.
Thank
Well,
you.
Bill, this is Lloyd. I
Yes, sir.
installed that app about 5 years ago and was not impressed, but they have really improved it. And so I think it's great.
Yes. Yeah. It's the problem is the person that did have the app. He was life got in the way of him doing anything. And Josh Cato, his side deal is he's a computer geek. He's a computer guy. So he contacted the owner of the app and said, listen, I'd really like to take this over. And they struck a deal, and Josh spent a good 6 months working on this with the code writers and everything. And this was the first release once he took it over. The stuff that we've got working on to add for later updates is going to blow everybody's mind. It's really going to be a all-encompassing balloon related app. It's not going to be something that's out there that we use for ballooning. This is a ballooning designed app that's going to be Uh, they're working on doing an update for the competition guys as well, and making it more user friendly for competition, as opposed to some of the computer programs that those guys are using. There's there's just a lot going on. But yeah, you're quite right, Lloyd. It was just a data collecting service before. Now it's a tool.
And I see that I've downloaded our local CTBA red zone, green zone map on here. And I totally forgot about that.
Hey Lloyd, I think that's what I was telling Bill earlier this evening, is that we had that. I can't remember who had it though.
Can you send that to me, Lloyd, in an email, or can you post
I
it to
forgot
the
how I got it
CTBA?
on here, but yeah, I'll get it to you.
Or maybe just send it out to the
I'll figure it
CTBA
out.
email, and that way everybody has access to it.
I will. I'll send it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's the only part I think I didn't get, and maybe Lloyd can help me with this. How do I get those maps?
Yeah, what'll happen, Rusty, is when you get an email or something with the link on it, as soon as you click on that link, it will automatically go to the Hot Air app, or it'll just like on the computer, it'll ask you where you want to open it. And as soon as you open it, it loads it automatically straight into there. And then if you go to the real times where it says custom, where where it says the custom maps, it should be on that list already. And then if you look to the far right, you can just uncheck or check whichever ones you want, and it should pop up that way.
Okay.
Yep. Well, good job, Bill.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Too bad it's only an I app.
Yes, from what I understand, to get to the Android, it's much more expensive
I can imagine.
for them to write the code, because it's got to basically start over. They're not the same, so it's got to start over. And I don't know if he's planning to do anything with an Android, but yes, that is the downside.
Hey, and in the weather, if you click on the weather, it brings up all of the weather apps too. Windy.com, Ryan Carlton flight service.
What is help me, what's Austin's? Was it?
KAUS.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
She was like answering a question of mine. Sorry. And so there you go with Ryan. Moving forward to the morning. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not tomorrow morning.
Right.
You passed Georgetown really fast.
Well, that is really interesting. Does anybody else have questions, comments? I thought Scott was supposed to say something.
He's been texting me, so we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Bill.
You are welcome.
Once again, you've
Hopefully it
always
was
got,
informative.
yeah, very interesting. And I understand that payload thing is a real thing these days. So it's something we all need to keep in mind. And
Especially for going to events, I was really concerned that maybe we all need to pay a little bit more attention to that and be on our toes and ready for any of the questions.
right, right, right.